Good evening and welcome. Good evening and welcome, everybody. And we have you in the house. Can you hear me clearly? Can you hear me clearly? So, what a freaking week it's been. What a week. Right, we're doing nothing other than dog training tonight. What are you all leaving for? Only got 11 people in the house anyway. Anyway, let's start off with the wine, shall we? Let's start off with the wine. Okay, free squirrel skin to anybody who tells me this wine. Don't say red. If you tell me the wine, if you tell me what sort of wine I'm drinking, because there's so many internet experts out there, isn't there? I just thought we'd start off on a good note. We're supposed to be talking about dogs tonight. I'm waiting for people to come in, so here we go. So no one's got an idea. Anyway, I'll tell you what it is. It's this. Have you seen that Fred, Gordon, and Gino program? Has anybody seen that? It's red. Meatloaf, Gundogs, well done. France, Italian. It's Italian. You should always say Italian. Remember that. Anyway, has anyone ever seen? Have you been watching that program where Fred, Gino, and Gordon Ramsay go in that camper, and they go wine tasting and food tasting? Well, Gordon Ramsay is a master chef, isn't it? There's no getting around it, is it? But as a taste for drink, give me Gino's Italian palate or Fred's palate any day over Gordon, because Gordon doesn't drink much. He does nothing but condemn it, does he? And at the end of the day, look at me, all red faced, and I've not even had a glass of wine. Do you know why? I'm on the freaking happy pills. I'm on the happy pills. I'm feeling so much better. I mean, honestly, I feel I could climb Mount Everest at the moment. I'm feeling so much better. Look at me in a t-shirt in this weather. So good evening to you all who's here at the moment then. So what we're going to do, we're going to talk about dog training tonight. I know you're going to be cheesed off about that because a lot of you just like me rambling for some reason. So Steve Pace, good evening to you. Frank Casey, good evening. Noel Murray, good evening. Graham Allison, good evening. Chris Devell, good evening. Peter Piper, good evening. Tracy Dodds, good evening. Kevin Polhick, good evening. Michael McLaughlin, not the table to call us. Jeff Haraway, Chris, not Airway, Arroway is in the house. Steve Pace, red wine makes you happy. I haven't touched it yet, Steve. I've been waiting on purpose to see if I change during the live feed. See if I change during the live feed, if I get more friendly. If I can go back to my normal, not miserable, feeling sorry for myself because I'm not very well attitude to actually talking about subjects that we want to talk about. And I've been thinking long and hard about this, and I thought we'd try and talk about dog training. But what's going on at the moment? Talk about dog wars. Dog wars. I see that Larry Crone has just put up about half an hour ago about Zach George saying that vets are the people that we should be listening to about animal behavior. And Larry's had absolute loads and loads of thumbs up, saying he's never come across a vet yet that can sort a dog problem out, as in training. They are vets. They do nothing but throwing tablets at dogs. Their attitude is unbelievable. And yet we've got someone in the group, and I'm not going to mention their name, don't need to mention their name, who've taken their dog to the vets. The dog's had an experience in the vets. The dog doesn't trust the vets. And so every time the dog goes to the vets now, it wants to kick off. And they've spoken to me over the phone, and they told me that that dog now needs to be muzzled. Now, if you examine dogs on a regular basis, and I would say, call me dyslexic, I would say a vet would be examining a dog on a regular basis on a table, should know how to handle a dog if it's slightly nervy, apprehensive, fearful. Hang on, who's caused the fear? You've caused fear to a sentient being? A dog that can think for itself? Unbelievable, isn't it? Unbelievable. Now, my advice to the person who I spoke to, and they know who it is, I said, you've now got to get that dog to see that muzzle as a favorable thing, a positive, not a negative. But once the dog's had a muzzle on and panicked, that's where you create the problem if you don't approach it in the right manner. Now, I'm telling you that I shit you not, I get myself into trouble on a regular basis. But I've done a video earlier this morning or last night about vets as dog trainers. Now, I have to take some negative from that because I upset the vets. I upset the people in the vets. Vets are in it for the money, and I've never seen such a greedy bunch of people in my life. Now, I wasn't anti-vet, but I've been in this game too long. But for a vet to tell me that they're a dog behaviorist and they know about animal psychology and they know about training and they're not willing to give a negative, don't lie to me. Don't lie to me. What you don't see behind closed doors is not what you see, what they talk to you about. That's the whole point about this. That is the whole point about the whole concept of dog training. I am banned from my local vets because I expressed my honest opinion, right? They didn't like the fact I expressed my honest opinion, so they banned me. Their loss, not mine. I've got a wonderful vet, but I got to travel 20 miles to go and see her rather than a vet literally on the doorstep. If anything happened with a customer's dog, you could get down there. Graham Allison says the muzzle is a negative to the dog. Graham, I totally agree, unless you make it a positive. But just to try and stick that on a fearful dog and then have to write on his records that this dog cannot be dealt with without a muzzle, obviously an incident has occurred, hasn't it? I work with that dog and that trainer and have never been bitten, and I have disciplined that dog. That dog doesn't fear me, but it respects me. It sees me as a leader. And this is the problem, see, because then the vet then creates a bigger problem because then that dog gets a phobia about going into the vets. And the person who talked to me about it, it's like saying a surgeon makes the best primary one teachers. Exactly. It is, Michael. It is. But this is the problem with this Zach George shit. This Zach George is a internet sensation when it comes to a con artist on the internet. It's as simple as that. Now, I don't want to get into a complete bitch fight, but I'm being totally honest. Instead of saying, let's debate with him, why would you want to debate with Zach George? You only have to watch some of his videos to see that Zach George hasn't got a clue. Zach George is another trainer that takes away all the problems and makes excuses about the training. If you have a problem, you have to resolve the problem. And that is what dog training is all about. You have to stop the unwanted behavior, not reward the unwanted behavior. Now, Zach George, over the years, because I watch all trainers, Zach George is a laughingstock. Zach George was a vending machine for dogs from the start, right? A vending machine from the start. And I've never seen anybody flood a dog with so much food as Zach George to try and get attention, and yet he's got no control at all. Absolutely no control. He cannot take his dog off the leash. He's done a series of videos with his collie, whatever it is. They're not the easiest of dogs, but guess what? He's made himself the laughing stock with people who know what they're talking about. So why would you even want to debate with him? But guess what? He went into Ivan's video and made comments, negative comments about Ivan. If you put your head above the parapet, darling, you have to be prepared to be shot at. And I think it's open season for Zach George. I don't think we should bully him, but I think we should call him out and give him a platform. Give him a platform to hang himself, because it's easy, isn't it? When this is a live video, I say something, I can't edit it. It's come out my mouth. If you watch Zach George videos, you'll see that they are edited. So he's rambling, but he then says something he shouldn't have said, so they edit it. So he wants a live debate like that. that you can make a video and he can make a video and all this rubbish. No, you don't. That's not a live debate. That's an edited debate. That's not giving your knowledge and understanding one-to-one against each other, right? Let's look at some of the top rappers. Eminem, remember that? When you get on the mic and you actually show your stuff, innit? Live. Not in a recording studio, but live. Zach George would be eaten alive if he went live, because he would have to look at reference material on his phone all the time. If you watch him, he's on his phone all the time. If you actually watch one of his latest videos, he's been getting the shit from his own community because he says you do not need to use food to motivate the dog in the way that they have been. So he's changed his mind. He's now saying it can be done with gameplay. Haven't we been talking about gameplay for absolutely years? Now Zach George wants to talk about more emphasis on gameplay rather than flooding the dog with food. So now he's upset that community. So what he does, he backtracks. He backtracks and he says, sorry, I've upset so many in the community. I didn't mean to. Let me explain myself. No, you were right, Zach. You're getting nowhere with flooding the dog with food non-stop. If flooding dogs with food and non-stop attention was the right way to go with these dogs, people would not be able to debate with Zach George, because Zach George has got a massive following. If his videos showed the evidence of success, then people would understand. But his videos don't show success. It's an absolute nightmare. And so I was talking about vets this morning because of that situation, because he gave a list of everybody on there, like the Dog Welfare Trust and all this. It's all an ideology that these people want to peddle for their own benefit. I don't want to listen to what vets think about dog training. If I go to a vet, I want the medical problems sorted out with the dogs that I take in there at the cheapest price possible, but for the welfare of the dog. I would never take a dog to a vet for welfare of the dog's living for behavior issues. No way. No way. Now you could say, yes, but you've got dogs out there are mentally ill and they need antibiotics and they need sedatives and they need this and they need this. On the odd occasion, not a problem, but not like fucking Smarties. It's like Smarties. They're giving them out like Smarties because they've got no other way of appeasing that behavior. So they try to suppress that behavior. Ignore the behavior, it will go away. What a load of shite. So there's this big joke at the moment, isn't there? Some people want to dance with Zach George at the moment. I'd like to rap with Zach George at the moment. At the end of the day, I think he is open game for everybody who talks about discipline. Not because you want to actually upset him to the point that he folds, but he is the one who went into Ivan's feed, said something. Ivan said, "Go away, please. I do not want to debate with you." And he had to kick off, didn't he? Now he's kicked off. He's getting so much negativity from the dog training world. And for what reason? Why? And this is important, everyone. This is important. If people like myself do not stand up, people like Danny Wells, people who use tools, people who use discipline, if we do not stand up and actually say what we do and how we do it and stand by that, and it doesn't matter how many followers you get, but you're using honesty and integrity. If we can't do that because of peer pressure and fear that we'll get wiped off the internet because society says you cannot use punishers, you cannot use corrections, you cannot use discipline. I don't care how you turn it over. I study science as well, but I'm only interested in science that has been looked at and tested, not science that comes off the top of somebody's head without being tested. And that's the difference. The difference is I've got an open mind. I have never, ever used an e-collar to stop a dog running in on a bird when out hunting, except a client's pointer. And that was an exceptional situation of hundreds and hundreds of dogs that I've worked with. But that dog's prey drive was so high, I had to break that prey drive. And at no point would you say the dog was in a comfortable state when you pressed that at the level I pressed it. But guess what? The dog ran right through it. The dog ran right through it for a reason. The prey drive was way up there. We're not talking about in the kitchen in your house and he's trying to get into a cupboard. No, I can stop unwanted behaviors if I'm there with a dog. But this dog was in a dangerous situation. It could have got killed. It could have killed other people. It could have run across the road, caused danger. So that dog had to be used in that situation to break that drive in that dog, right? And yes, it did. It broke the dog away from it, but it was not pleasant. There's no way on this earth I can be honest and say, yeah, the dog didn't feel it. It wouldn't work if the dog didn't feel it, but the dog ran through it. That just shows how much drive some of those high drive dogs are when they get that desire not to listen to you in high drive situations. So let's not pretend that we don't use discipline and pain at the right time, but I have to take it in the neck for talking about pain. That's everything to do with dog training. Let me just say that some clients come to me and they stay with me for a while, and then I tell them the home truth and I don't see them again. That's the price you pay for being honest. If they're not willing to listen, they're not willing to think, hang on, this guy's got lots and lots of experience and he wants me to have a successful dog. So I'm going to follow what he says because he's knowledgeable. He's proved it. He's been there. I can see the videos. I can see the people who respect him. And I've got a lot of respect in the dog training world from all aspects of dog training because I'm honest and open. They know exactly where they stand with me. That doesn't mean that everybody's got to agree with me. And guess what? I don't agree with Zach George. But could I debate with Zach George? No problem at all. But what is the point? He's not going to change his mindset because he's got a closed mindset. How are you going to get him to open his mindset? That's the problem. So it's like the dog wars. Everybody wants to argue. But Zach George is all about sales. Everything that Zach George does, when you watch his adverts, it's all about sales. Karen says here, treats can be great for behaviors we want, but for behaviors we don't want, simply won't cut it. There has to be consequences if the dog disobeys. Exactly, Karen. But treats given willy-nilly, without good timing, without the dog understanding the timing, then that can have an adverse effect. You can over-treat a dog the same as you can over-discipline a dog. It's as simple as that. I've never, ever said treats are a no-no. I know trainers that I respect that say anybody who feeds treats can't train a dog. You shouldn't be feeding treats. I disagree. It doesn't mean we'll fall out. It doesn't mean we'll fall out, but I can disagree with them. And I think there's nothing wrong with having disagreement, but I think debate is good. But debate if people have got an open mind. If they haven't got an open mind, you're wasting your time. What happens if, say, Ivan has a sit down, a live sit down with Zach George, and Zach George suddenly has this call to God. Oh no, I've been doing it wrong. He's right. I've seen the light. What does he lose? He loses a massive amount of his fan base. Because what is his fan base? And there's far more of them than rational people on the internet. They are triggered women who have got an obsessional behavior about treat training their dogs. I see far more problem dogs that have fed food than I do dogs that have been over-disciplined. Because you can change that, but dogs that have taken over and had everything, been pampered, been given too much, never time to switch off, never time out, they become the real problem dogs that then can't cope with separation. They get separation anxiety and all this when the person goes out of the house, because they're always fondling the dog. They're always stroking the dog. The dog's jumping up for attention. Look at that dog program yesterday. If any of you watched that, dogs behaving badly. Graham, at least that Graham uses some discipline. But at the end of the day, some of those dog behaviors are so easy to sort out, but he can't be seen to be taking it to any other level than baby steps, because the PC gang won't allow him to be on the TV. He's had so much criticism for using corrections and saying no to dogs, but you've got to give him credit. At least he's out there talking about you've got to stop that pampering, giving the dog everything it wants. And so in some ways, it opens it up for us all to debate, doesn't it? Other dog trainers give us the platform to debate it. We talk about the Gundog trainer. I talk about the Gundog trainer who's got an app out on the internet. I don't want to mention his name. I'm not interested in that. I talk about it far more in our group and explain the reasons why. If he wants to sell that ideology and put his head above the parapet, he's got to be prepared to be shot at. Because if you think you can train your dog with a food bowl and treats non-stop and use no discipline, no corrections, then you are dreaming, absolutely dreaming. And he is selling a false ideology, and I have every right to talk about it. Have I got a personal vendetta against the person? No, but I've got the balls to say I totally disagree with you. I totally disagree with you. Do I like the person? I know him. I don't like him. But that's not a personal vendetta against the person. But the problem is people are pulled in, and even people in our group have been pulled in, and they've even said it in the group, haven't they? The glossy videos sell. The glossy videos. Well, what is Zach George? He's a freaking salesman. It's like watching one of them sales channels. You switch over and they can sell you anything, don't they? It's a gift of the gab. That's what they call it, gift of the gab. You get on there and you just give the spiel, and these toys are the toys that will make your dog want to be with you and be your best friend. We are sponsored by these people, and it's all about sales. Everything's about sales. Now, I got to earn a living. We all got to earn a living. But I'd rather earn a living for my honesty and integrity. And if you don't like my method of training, bye. Go away. When I go after people, I go after people who rubbish me. And you don't see everything that happens on the internet, but people send it to me. People send it to me. And at the end of the day, I pick my fights because I believe that I'll stand up to anybody and debate with anybody out there on the internet about dog training. Doesn't mean I'm right. Doesn't mean I'm right. But it works for me, and it works for thousands and thousands of people who've come to me for training. We have got a wonderful group of like-minded people who've got results. You can see the results, and they're people now that I'm promoting as dog trainers to go and help other people. See, like Danny Wells said, Danny did a little video, and Danny's typical Danny, and I love his rants. And he said, you're wasting your time debating with him. Well, you are wasting your time debating with him because he'll never, ever open his mind, because he is selling what sells. And that's exactly what it's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. Anyway, any questions? I know I've been rambling, haven't I? And one that so let's go back up here. Anything up here, Sue, you've seen? Yeah, vet should stick to veterinary medicine only. Exactly, Steve. A muzzle is a negative to that dog. Yeah, exactly. We've done that bit with that. I bet Steve said, I bet the vet stuck his finger up the dog's arse without asking. Yeah. Like we say, we in our group, we look at many trainers. We look for positives and we look for negatives. And I am happy to promote trainers that get success, put it up, talk about it and show it. I've done it with so many trainers. I could have said, there's only one trainer who you should come to. It's Chris Upton. I haven't. I've put so many people in the group onto other trainers to watch and understand, whether they're more food-based training, whether they're more clicker-based training. There is some good clicker-based trainers out there, but it's so easy to buy a clicker. It's like, I'm going to go and buy a sports car. It doesn't mean you can drive at 140 around a bend, does it? The skill set is knowing how to do these things. If we don't put our heads above the parapet and talk about them, how the bloody hell are other people going to understand? We are fighting our corner here, and it's an important fight for the sake of the dogs. Because if love and affection was the way to go, I'd be the first person promoting it, because I love love and affection. Ask Sue. She said it wouldn't be long before you start talking about sex again, Chris. I can't even pester Sue non-stop. She won't have it. It's overpowering. So why do you want a dog sniffing your crutch, jumping on the settee, licking your ears, putting its mouth around your arm non-stop? Gary Marriott, if you can't show it, you can't do it. Exactly. Exactly, Karen. It means diddly squat if you don't associate with the reward correctly. How many times have I promoted people out there like Gary Wilkes? How many times? Why? Because he's a genius. He's a genius. And I don't say that very often, but he's a genius in his knowledge, his understanding, his history behind him. And we should learn from it. We should learn from it. You should not dismiss anything, but look into it. But the problem is, people contact me all the time with pet dogs and problems with pet dogs. Now, I'm a specialist gun dog trainer because I'm lucky enough to be good at what I do, and I don't need to tout and say at weekends I clean cars, or I work down the bus station, or I do this or I do that. I'm lucky enough to be a gun dog trainer, so I train gun dogs. I don't take pets in very often at all. I sometimes give people advice, but I don't take pets in very often at all. Why? Because they're not willing to put the work in. They want a quick fix. The majority of gun dog people will put the time and effort in before taking the dog out and taking it shooting too soon. So many people do that, come unstuck, then come and find me. And that's my skill set, because I've done it for 25, 30 years now. 30 years. I don't even look that age, do I? You wouldn't think that I had such a wonderful paper round training dogs. Anyway, I'm ranting a bit, aren't I? I've not really even drunk too much wine, and I've not read your questions, have I? And it's nice to read your questions because I like-minded people. But guess what? Where are the people who are disagreeing with us? Why aren't they on here disagreeing with us? Why aren't they having a debate with us? This is live. But I don't want everybody to be a clone of Chris Upton. If you've got a difference of opinion, I think you should actually give that opinion, and we can debate it. But I've offered many of people to come on and debate with me. Is it I'm overpowering? I'm here. I'll debate with you. Come on then, Adam Hudson. Give me a ring. Give me a ring, Adam. Ring me now. You've got my number. We'll debate it. No problem at all. It's like Adam put up about his terrier. His terrier started pushing boundaries, and Adam had to step it up. Some people say you never fight with a terrier, you'll get bit. You'll get bit if you don't let the terrier know you're in charge. What's the debate I've just joined? Honestly, forget it now. I wouldn't debate with you anyway, with your knowledge. He just wants a squirrel skin. Yeah, he does care. Did you see him? He was begging, wasn't he? He was begging. He was begging, he was. I thought, I've got to send him one because he's freaking begging. I thought we sent him one. I thought we put one in the freaking post for him with his prize that he got. They know they can't get the results that we do. Exactly. They can't. That is the whole point. And And the problem is you can wipe the floor with them when they do come in a debate. They never want to debate because they don't stand a chance with someone who asks awkward questions. Awkward questions. So it's another thing on here. It's another thing on here. I gave the group a chance. I needed a squirrel skin. There you go. I gave the group a chance. I'm going to actually do a video on it. One of our members, don't need to name them, been taking the dog out. Dog's been flushing game and taking in too much ground, not listening, not stopping on the whistle every time. And they asked me a number of questions and I give them another number of answers. And sometimes those answers aren't what they're looking for. They're not what they're looking for. But I cannot sell you a false ideology that you carry on doing what you're doing and your dog will then suddenly realize, I've got to stop. Because that dog's drive will come up and up and up. And then you're going to have to come down on that dog very, very heavy. And so what I've done is I've asked people in there, and we've offered a squirrel skin for people to give their opinion on what you would do and what advice you would give somebody. Why? Because I want the person who spoke to me about it to read those comments and learn from them. But it also helps the group. It helps the group understand the importance of the stop whistle and why to get it right before you go onto game. If the dog's not listening to you, you've got to go back a couple of steps in your training. And if you do your training right and you follow it in like building blocks on top of each other, and you do it in that sequence and something goes wrong, all you've got to do is go back one building block. If you've put it up in stages and move forward too quick, you're going to get a number of those building blocks become unstable and the whole training can crash around you. It's as simple as that. It's as simple as that. It's not about being over dominant with the dog. Adam says it's balance. It's a balance of drive and control all the time. It is. But give me a dog with drive and then I can correct the dog. Give me a dog with no drive but not behaving. Where can you go? If you correct it, it then flattens the dog. There's the difference between competition dogs and people who know how to train competition dogs and ordinary dogs. So the person like Zach George who deals with pet people's dogs and not competition dogs like Ivan, right? At the end of the day, Ivan is a specialist in his sport, but he's got wide knowledge of the psychology, the discipline, the correction, whatever you want to call it, motivation. He's a massive motivator with gameplay. Massive. But guess what? Zach George hasn't studied Ivan. He's just got on the bandwagon because he disagrees with the comments. He doesn't know who he's playing with. And now he's got bit. He's like a freaking spoilt child sitting there going, I've caused a shitstorm. No shit, Sherlock. You called it on yourself. And I think that when they call you out, they need to be addressed. And I take my hat off to Ivan offering him the £1,000 and Robert offering £1,000 to say, come on, let's have a debate. I haven't seen them being rude. They're asking for debate. Why? Because they'll wipe the freaking floor with him and that won't be difficult. So it's all right saying you're wasting your time and wouldn't go there, but why not wipe the floor with him? Why not wipe the floor? Freaking use him as a mop. Show him for what he is, a one-trick pony. But a clever one-trick pony, because the money he's making, some of you would absolutely die for. Not me personally, because I don't think money is everything. I don't honestly believe that money is everything. I think money is important. We've got to all earn a living. But I don't think that I'd sell my soul to the devil just to become an internet sensation, flogging stuff like a whore on the internet. Now, for some reason, I've been demonetized on Facebook. They said to me, you cannot pay for advertising your business on Facebook because of an infringement of something I've done. But they're not even telling me what infringement it is. So how do I know what I've done wrong if they don't tell me what I've done wrong? I haven't bared my arse. You know, I haven't done anything intentionally to sort of get myself struck off from earning a living. But I've never tried to earn a living on Facebook. But I've paid for videos, my business videos, to be promoted and put forward, and that's business. Not all of them, some of them. That they get more they get more views, because that's what they're doing to me at the moment on Facebook. They're suppressing the people who see me because I'm not paying as a business. I've tried that route. It's a waste of time. I can get views. We were talking about a certain gun dog trainer with a certain app, and I put a video up. You should have seen the comment to a fight with the person. I just deleted it. They swore at me on Facebook. I thought that wasn't very nice. Swearing at me. I fell to pieces. I didn't fight back. I didn't go, oh, you want to bitch fight, do you, on the internet? No. If you want to debate, we'll have a debate. But I've said something about your business and you're troubled. Grow up, you big freaking motorcycle rider. It's pathetic. So I'm looking at my YouTube page, right? My channel. And one of the videos that I actually put up about this trainer, and it's talking in general about this situation with Ivan and Peter Pan of the dog training world and Peter Pan of the pet training world. And that's the way I'd rather name it, because I don't want to just bad bitch somebody, but I have a right to my opinion. And surely I have freedom of speech. And I was talking about, I shared a number of pictures of his videos, not his videos, and said, look, he's not getting the following that he wants. But why would you if you're only putting up 1 minute, 2 second videos or 1 minute, 30-second videos? And you're dead right, Adam. People need to wake up. So what I did is I put up a video about it. And in one day, I've had 279 views. In one day. That's from a trainer that speaks his mind. So what does that tell you? Actually, if you speak your mind and say it the way it really is, people might follow you. They might follow you for the right reason. And like I said, we've all got to make a living. But I'm not living in a fantasy world behind me. I'm living in reality. I deal with real dog training and talk about the subject that other people don't want to talk about. I want to talk about sex a lot more because sex sells. But some of you, you're just too like, it's like you switch off when I start talking about sex. You want me to talk about dogs. And then when I don't talk about dogs and we talk about something else, they go, oh, we're not having the banter that we normally have. I don't mind talking about dogs all night. But guess what? Don't you get sick and tired of the same freaking thing all the time? Isn't it nice to have a bit of banter between us all? I personally think it is. Star a sex channel. What the frick is on about? What's he on about now? Start up a sex channel, you mean? Do you mean start? Oh, thank God for that, Steve Pace. Yes. Hayley switches on when she is sexist, Kieran. This is it, Kieran. Do you know what? The women say it as it is. So, honestly. So, did you see the situation? I don't know if anyone you watched that program last night with Graham, and one of those dogs was bonking another dog, and it's bonking it non-stop. And they got a balloon and a woman's coat on, and freaking dressed him a mannequin, a ladykin, whatever you call it, in the room, and got walkie-talkie. So every time the dog got on and started riding the other dog, they come in and stopped it. She's all ears now. Was drifting off to sleep 5 minutes ago, says Kieran. Honestly, stop it, Karen. You're getting me all excited. Stop it. I wonder if you could get her to blow me a few kisses. Not for me, for the group. For the group. What Denver said he watched that. It was crazy. Yeah, it is crazy, isn't it? But it's so easy to stop an unwanted behavior, isn't it? If you gave that dog a negative, that dog would stop that behavior very, very quickly. And if you notice, every problem he had on that show, as soon as he showed a little bit of leadership, the dogs all backed down, didn't they? They were not bolshy, big, strong bollocks not listening to you dogs. They weren't real problem dogs, were they? The people had allowed them to become problem dogs, but with a little bit of clarity, you saw the difference in those dogs. I'm not a great big fan of that program. Yeah, the staffy just melted, didn't it? When he actually went, "Hey, what are you doing?" to the staffy turned over and freaking lay on its side, didn't it? A big pudding, but it got the message straight away, didn't it? And it went, "Oh, I'm not supposed to be doing this." And so you're giving the dog clarity. The punishment comes in many forms. Discipline comes in many forms. And this is the problem. These positive only people, and there's no such thing, jump on that because that's all they've got. They're clinging to it. They're clinging to it. And that's why it's so important that people listen and tune into people like Gary Wilkes. Gary Wilkes has been down that road. I didn't go down that road because I didn't join the dog training world at the point that everyone said everything can be done positive. I was in the sports side of it, and no one was using all positive. No one. I never met one person that was using all positive. And I trained with a lot of people and watched and learned. But I learned the gameplay was far more important than what they were doing. They were suppressing drive, suppressing behavior, and that's why they weren't winning. That's why I started winning, because what I did, I tapped into the gameplay all those years ago and realized how important gameplay was. Why? Because I had an open mind and I studied as much as I could about the psychology behind getting a dog to respond to you. Anybody can suppress the dog. That doesn't take a skill. The skill is to have that desire and drive, but got that switch off button as well. That is so important. That is the most important thing about dog training. And I put that comment up on my page, and I had 9 or 10 top trainers like it. That's what tells you know what you're talking about. When the people that you respect in the dog training world like your comment. I put it up because of that program. I watched the program and thought, I cannot believe how they're letting the dogs take over their lives. Those dogs are ruling them. You can't do it with cheese. Now stop it, Gary, because you've got other people in the group who swear, like Adam Hudson, that you can do it with cheese. But the thing is, we need a cheese off, don't we? That's what we need to do. We need a cheese off. The nicest thing about our group is we have a sense of freaking humor, because we can laugh at this shit instead of get triggered. And the problem is, you've got women, and I'm not being sexist, you've got women at the moment boiling over because Zachy George is being picked on. Zachy, their darling prince of the dog training world, is being bullied by these brutish dog trainers who use discipline. Good quality cheese. See, this is the problem. See, it's so confusing for anybody coming on here. They're going, well, hang on. They're contradicting themselves. This lot. Are they using cheese? Are they not using cheese? Does cheese work? Doesn't cheese work?
All depends what cheese it is.
There you go. Sue's in on it as well now.
And there is a question from Not at the Table Carlos.
Not at the Table Carlos. Chris, program on TV last night about dogs. Presenter was saying all dogs are from 98.8. But have you ever looked into the theory? Do you know what? Not the Table Carlos. I think that obviously, in my opinion, and I've looked at a lot of the science, I think that they come from the wolf. But guess what? It's weakened and weakened and weakened and weakened, and they become so domesticated. I don't think that. I think wolves are very. I think wolves are very standoffish and nervous. They'll actually avoid you rather than attack you and rip you to pieces. But at the end of the day, if you back a wolf into a corner, perhaps it might come out fighting. But I don't think the caveman, when the wolf came to the fire and picked up the scraps and picked up the learned to scavenge. I don't think that was an alpha wolf, as in I'm the freaking top dog. I can kill anything I want. I can eat it. I'm top dog. I think that was the lower end of the wolf, and they were more biddable. It's like dog training of today in trials. A lot of these people want a softer dog, a more biddable dog. But guess what? Them softer dogs, they're seeing problems with them because they've got traits that the harder dogs haven't got. I don't think that as an alpha male, and I class myself as an alpha male, not that I'm hard and I'm freaking tough. I may have been harder when I was younger. You have to ask Sue that. That was filthy, Chris. But what I'm saying is, my testosterone was a lot more as a youngster, and I enjoyed fighting. I got to admit, I enjoyed fighting. I don't think that I'm clever for fighting. I just enjoyed fighting. I thought it's primal. I enjoyed it. That doesn't mean that, if, not being funny, I enjoyed fighting because I didn't get beaten. Not very often. On the odd occasion, I probably had a draw and come out freaking absolutely battered, but I battered them as well. Now that I'm not boasting about that, but what I'm saying, if I like fighting as a youngster, and every time I fought I got beat to shit, I'd soon learn that I don't like fighting, wouldn't I? It's as simple. It's psychology, isn't it? Really, you know. So or sense or thick, right? So you know, I say things, and then what happens? Someone freaking runs with that and goes, he tells everyone he likes fighting. He's been done for GBH. He's been done for this. Hang on. That was 40 fucking years ago. 40 years ago, you stupid people. Plus, yeah. 17, well, 17, 18. You know, I was brought up rough, tough, and I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed being a macho boy. I'm not saying it was clever. I'm not saying it was right. But I wasn't a bully. But I never backed down from anything because I loved the sensation. I loved the adrenaline. It gave me a buzz. David Jones says, I see that Dakota Gundogs are back posting on videos. Enough time must have elapsed for Ed above the parapet attempt. No negative comments yet. Yeah, you're right, David. You're right. But I haven't gone after him. I've gone after the system. I've gone after the Kennel Club. I don't agree with what he did. But guess what? I've gone after the Kennel Club. But I know people in our group who follow him and actually been training with him. That's up to them. It's down to each individual. But I've given dogs discipline and firm discipline at the right time. But you can't be putting stuff up on the internet, and I don't agree with what he did. I don't agree with it. I don't think it taught the dog anything. As simple as that. But I've seen far worse. I've seen far, far worse. I've seen far worse at a trial, right? At the back of the freaking trial, when the rules say you can't do that. Now, if people are watching that and they're watching film stars doing that, then why wouldn't they do that if they have got no integrity? Because you should never lose your cool when disciplining a dog. As simple as that. And anybody who says no one should talk about that guy, and anybody who does is a shit stirrer, I disagree. But that, you can disagree with me. You can say, no, he's a shit stirrer for putting it up and sharing it. But if everybody in the Gundog world doesn't talk about that and say that's not acceptable, then what does that say about the Gundog world? Because there has to be rules and boundaries. There has to be a line that you shouldn't cross. Have I ever questioned that in training? Yes, I have. But guess what? That gets me shit, because then people say, he said he's done that. I didn't say I'd done that. The difference is I will talk about the subject and other people won't talk about the subject. I feel that if you educate the dog, then you don't need to go to the levels that some people will go to get control back into the dog. But there's many a thing I could say about that video, but it would get a lot of freaking negativity for all of us. David Jones says, sometimes it's best just to put the lead back on, go home and try another day. Yeah, school the dog. School the dog. But there's a difference between tapping the dog with the side of your boot and giving a leash tug and just saying heel to the dog than doing what he did in that video. And yet some people say there's no excuse to kick a dog under any circumstances. Hang on. Go and watch Zach George's video about what he says about in extreme circumstances, if a dog is in a dangerous situation or someone's going to get harmed, then using aversives is totally acceptable. Well, why would you use an aversive, a negative, if you can use a positive? So he's contradicted himself, hasn't he? And that's the problem with dog training. So you've got people sitting on the fence and going, yeah, but he really didn't do any harm to that dog. That is not how you should train a dog, in my opinion. The only reason I've mentioned it is because you've mentioned the name of the guy. We talked about it in the group privately, because at the end of the day, I believe in being totally honest with people. But the thing is, let's look at this. I've had another conversation with someone. I'm not going to mention their name, not going to mention whether it was a cocker or a springer. And they mentioned about noise. They mentioned about noise and asked me my opinion. I don't think they enjoyed my opinion, but they accepted my opinion because they said to me they'd talked to so many professional dog trainers about the noise, and they said, get rid of it, you're wasting your time. Next minute, advertising it for stud. Acceptable or not acceptable? But I'm not going to throw somebody under the bus. That's their decision. They can do what they want. But I feel sorry for somebody who would think, oh, it's got good hip scores, it's got good DNA testing, but hang on, it's making noise. Why would you want people to take a chance of having pups out of your dog if it's got noise? Now, are we talking about integrity, or are we talking about financially, I've got to? That's up to each individual.
Or has he put the noise in?
Exactly what Sue said, and she's not a dog trainer. Or has he put the noise in with frustration and made it worse by doing stuff with the dog too soon? It's not my job to throw everybody under the bus that I disagree with. But guess what? Denver says I have one with noise and would never breed with him. Thank you, Denver. I'm of the same ilk, as they say. So my integrity, although as a youngster I was a bit of a rogue, these days I'm a far better person because I have principles. Now, you can't say I wasn't brought up with principles. I wasn't brought up in slums. But at the end of the day, I got myself into trouble in the 70s because Maggie Thatcher closed down all the factories. The teachers said, don't worry about your school education. We always need factory workers. I left school without any qualifications. And every freaking job I went for, there were 400 people in a freaking queue in the 70s. So you think you've had it bad? At the moment, you can get jobs everywhere. If you want to work, you can work. It doesn't matter if you want to be the prime minister of this country, but if you want to work, you can get out there and get a job at the moment. That's the advantage that you've got over us. What you haven't got the advantage over, how the freaking hell are you going to afford a £400,000 freaking house? You know, when I bought my first house, it was 11 grand. 11 grand for my first house. I fear for the poor kids out there these days that how the hell are they going to get into £400,000 house without real qualifications of a job, with a layman's job? Everything moves on and moves forward and backwards, and dog training is no different. Dog training is only in the last 25 years really become more fun-based, and there's nothing wrong with fun-based, but food-based, reward good behavior, ignore bad behavior. Absolute waste of time. We're going backwards. And we got the science to thank for that. The bias science, the manipulation. That's what we're looking at. Manipulation. They've manipulated the sport of gun dog training for their own benefit. The Kennel Club, people like the guy who got the app, all because you can get fluffies in and take lots and lots of money off fluffies. It's all about the money. Now, you can sue me if I'm telling lies. You can't sue me if I'm telling the truth. I can prove the truth. I can actually prove the truth. That's the funny thing about all this. But I don't want to throw anybody under the bus publicly in a nasty way. But I have every right to agree or disagree with someone's training or someone's ideology. Now, I haven't thrown the person who spoke to me under the bus because that's not going to gain nothing for nobody. I'd rather educate him. But guess what? He actually asked me to talk about the subject. Let's have a discussion about the subject. So I'll take my hat off for him for that. but I'm not going to give his name. I'm not going to give his name because I don't feel that it'd do him any justice. How would you feel? Let me ask the question. We've got 36 people in here. How would you feel if you bought a dog, you thought it was going to be sound, and then it had noise? Would you be pissed off, or would you be sort of, no, I'm all right with that. I'll just take my chance. So the person will sell the fact that it's got a good hip score, good freaking DNA, but then you've gone and bought a puppy from him, trusting the fact that he's selling a sound dog. And that's the whole point here. It's about education. It's about education. And it's easy saying, well, I bought the dog and I paid a lot of money for it, and it's a good dog when it's not making a noise, and I may have put the noise into it, but once it's making a noise, and that's why I think that in trials, once you get to the trial situation, and people are asking a lot of money for trial dogs, and I don't blame them. There's a lot of work that goes into it. I think that if dogs get put out in competition for noise, or they get put out for hard mouth, I think it should go on the dog's record, on the Kennel Club record, because people who breed off those dogs are just unscrupulous, in my opinion. But that doesn't mean that I want to fall out with everybody out there who has not got the same mindset that I've got. That's his dog. If that's what he wants to do, then fine. But you could ask the question, are you happy owning that dog and it's got noise? Like Sue said, may have put the training into the dog too soon and created the noise. Now, the advice that I gave, I have to listen to why the dog makes a noise and when it makes a noise and how often it's made a noise. If you can't be honest with me, then I can't help you. Because on the odd occasion, you can think, hang on, I may have put that into the dog. But if the dog is making a noise on a regular basis, I would not be advertising that dog for stud or for sale for pups. Simple as that. I wouldn't be advertising pups out of that dog if it was my dog. But like I say, each to their own. I can only give you my opinion. If that person never spoke to me again because they were pissed off with what I've said on here, get on with it. Trot on. Because I haven't mentioned their name. I've not even suggested their name or who they are. They asked me a simple question and we spoke for a while and I gave my opinion. And my opinion is you're wasting your time when a dog has got noise and it's regular. You'll not get over it. We've tried it, we've seen it, we've been there. You can move it around the training, you can stop it temporary. I'm telling you, I would have hoped to have done my own work and seen both parents working in a live situation under pressure. If it turned out to have noise, I would be really pissed off. David, you're dead right, but guess what? How do you know the dog's not made noise on a trial? I'm not talking about this dog. I'm talking about there's trial dogs out there that are champions that have got noise. I could name a couple, but guess what? It's not my job to throw somebody under the bus. But if someone said to me, and people have in the group, would you recommend I get a pup from that dog? I've said to them, well, I'm very sorry, but you've asked my opinion, and my opinion would be no. If I know something. As simple as that.
But Denver said the one he's got with noise, he found out after had noise in the pedigree.
Exactly, Denver. And that's the sad thing about it, isn't it? You put all that time, all that effort into that dog, and how do you know? And so it's like David Jones said, I would have hoped to have done my own work first. Hang on. How can you guarantee you've done your own work if you buy a pup from a sire that you don't really know that much about? So you're saying that everyone else should perhaps only buy from dogs that they've seen and watched. That would be unbelievable, wouldn't it? Would that not drive the
But sometimes you can't even see the both parents, can you? Because it could be a bit brought in, or a dog comes from 100 miles away and everything. So
yeah, a lot of people will sell a part trained dog on and say it's got no problems and it's got noise. They've moved it on because it's got noise. It's out of a champion to champion, but it's got noise. Now you can't guarantee it's not in the training, and that's the whole point here. You can't guarantee it, but guess what? When some lines just throw dogs with noise and so many people are getting pissed off with it because they've bought and paid silly money for them because they're top dogs. Now, this is what they used to say years ago. They used to say, you win with your dog, make it up to a champion, retire it. Because if it made a noise, you'd lose all your stud fees if you carried on running it. Give me the dog that's been consistent. Give me that dog, like Badger Court Moss, that was still running at the age of 10 or 11 and still made up champion a number of times. See what Emily says? Emily says, I will give a noisy dog a home. See, there's people out there who have them dogs, no problem at all. But if your passion is gun dog training, do you want a dog sitting on the peg whining? Do you want a dog yipping when you cast it off? No, you don't. Right? And at the end of the day, when you buy a pup, it's a lottery. But if you buy a pup from decent breeding that's proven and from a reputable dealer, he's got a name to think about if you think about it. Now, there's some professionals out there that I would say I wouldn't go near with a barge pole. I wouldn't go near with a barge pole. And if you tie a dog to a fence and keep calling it, most dogs will make a noise eventually because you can create frustration. And that's the whole point. So hang on. Let's have marks out of 10 tonight for Chris Upton not talking shit, but actually talking about dog training tonight. Could you give me marks out of 10, please, before we go? Have you enjoyed tonight? We've been talking about dog training rather than sex, drugs, and rock and roll. 10 out of 10, says Kieran Evans. 9, Graham Allison. Wash your mouth out with a spoon. 9, Steve Pace. What did I do wrong, Steve? Only 9? Freaking, I was looking for a 10. Oh, thank you, Gary Marriott. Thank you very much. Thank you, Denver. Thank you. See, you got to bully him a little bit. 9.5. He's definitely after a squirrel skin. Anyway, on that note, Chris Upton signing off. And do you know what? I haven't even had half a glass of wine, have I? Did you see me pouring any more? No, I didn't. It's nice to chat, but guess what? It's more important to be honest and open, isn't it? Like I say, I don't want to throw anyone under the bus. They can watch this, whoever wants to watch it, and I stand by everything I've said. But like I say, I've not thrown them under the bus because I don't believe we need to. I think that, I've got genuine people in the group. Genuine people ring me, ask me questions. Sometimes I tell people what was said and what wasn't said. I keep it private, if you know what I mean. But the person who approached me, I've got to be so careful because you can just slip the name out and everyone go, oh, we know who it is now. The person who approached me actually said it would be great if we discussed this subject on the internet. That's what we've done. We've discussed it. If he watches back at this, he can make that decision. He can do what he wants. That's up to him. But if anybody in our group actually asks me about that particular dog, I have to be honest, but I'd say it in private. And that's the most important thing, I think. I think to be trusted and have integrity, people don't mind me fighting back and having a bitch fight with these freaking idiots on the internet because they come into my world having a go at me and I don't mind giving it them. But I don't intentionally go looking for it. And I've learned that. And it's a learning curve, isn't it? But guess what? This is a live feed and I could let something slip out my mouth. I've not practiced what I'm going to speak about tonight. I've just ad-libbed, taken it from the top of my head, what I've been dealing with all week, and give you a rundown on tonight's live feed. What you see is what you get. No one's perfect, but I do my best. Thanks a lot for tuning in. Chris Upton and Sue, retiring to the bedroom. Stop it, you lot. Good night, all.